Welcome to another video from Play Simple Chords. In this tutorial, I'm going to cover gospel chords in the key of E flat. And I'm going to use a chord progression that follows a lot of hymns. In particular, this hymn is Give Thanks. We start out with the scale for the key that we're going to study in. And we're going to be in the key of E flat. E flat is the 1, F is 2, G is 3, A flat is 4, B flat is 5, C is 6, D is 7, and then we're back at E flat. Now when we look at the key of E flat has diatonic chords. So on the 1, you would play an E flat major. On the 2, you would play an F minor. On the 3, you would play a G minor. 4, and on B flat, you would play a B flat major or some form of a dominant 7th. And then on 6, you play a C minor. And then on 7, you play a D minor 7, flat 5, or a straight D diminished chord. Difference is you're adding the 7th to the diminished chord, and then we're back at 1, E flat. Now you can arrange these chords in circle of 4th order, and they'll sound somewhat musical, but there are certain chords that would need to be changed, and that's what I'm going to get into in more detail. Now, one place you may have heard that you would add more gospel type chord would be when you're going from the 7, which is D flat, D minor 7 flat 5, going to a G minor 7 to a C minor 7. And in order to get the gospel sound, what you actually do is what I discussed in a previous video. You borrow a chord progression from the harmonic minor. And in this case, it's the harmonic minor based on the note that you're going to in that progression. You're going 7, 3, 6. And in this case, the 6 is a C minor 7. So your dominant 7 would, your D minor 7 flat 5 would be this chord. We'd have a double D in your left hand, a C, F, A flat in your right hand, and then you would go to a G, 7, sharp 9, sharp 5. So you'd play a G and an F, a B, E flat, F, and B flat. And then you would go right to your C minor 7, where you double the C. And in any of these chords where you're doubling the C, you can add the 5th if you desire. But it's basically repeating or doubling notes that may not add to the quality of the sound you're looking for. So you'd have C and C octaves in the left hand, a B flat, D, E flat, and G in the right hand. So that's the first place that you would add a gospel type chord progression. 7, 3, 6. Now another place you would add it is if you're going to go to the 4 in this example. So we know that in the standard circle progression for E flat, you would go from the 1 to the 4. But you could get to the 4 by playing the 5 of the 4, and then you would do what's called a 5-1-4 progression, but it's actually coming out of the A flat major scale. So the 4 now you're going to treat like a 1, and then you're going to treat the 5 as a 2. So in this scale, remember the 5 is a dominant chord, B flat is a dominant chord. You have double B flat, A, B flat, D, and F. So in the key of E flat, the B flat chord is a dominant chord, but in this case we're going to change it to a minor B flat minor chord to make it the 2, and then we'll go to the E flat and then 1. So we're targeting the 4 chord in this progression, and you begin to start adding gospel type progressions rather than staying with the diatonic chords. So in this example again, we're playing the 5 as a minor chord, and we're going to the 1. The 1 as a dominant chord, and then to the 4, which is the root chord for the scale that we're going to. So if I didn't make that too complicated, the whole idea is the target chord becomes your new 1, and the 2-5 requires you to alter the character of the chords in the E flat scale. So again, the B flat becomes a minor chord, the E flat, which is a major, becomes a dominant, and then we're to the 1. And the third place that you would add a gospel type progression to chords in the key of E flat would be to target the 2 chord. So in this case, we're going to target F minor, and we're going to do a minor 2-5-1 rather than a major 2-5-1. So the 1 becomes a minor 7th, similar to what we did with the C minor 7, where we did the 7-3-6 became a 2-5-1 of the 6. That was a minor progression. This one is also a minor progression from the harmonic minor for the key of F minor. So F is the 1, so we have to start off with a 2 minor, and for F that would be G minor. So again, we're keeping with the concept that the F minor is the target chord. So F minor, F, E flat, A flat in the right hand, C, E flat, G flat in the right hand, F and E flat are in the left hand. And then we go to, we're going to play a 2-5-1, so we start off with a G minor 7, and we're playing an F, a G and an F in the left hand, and a B flat chord, which you can invert it however you want. And we're going to go to a C. In this case, we're going to use a 7 flat 9 chord rather than just a straight dominant chords, and then we go end up at the 1. So it's 2, which is your G minor. I spelled that out already. And then we're going to play a C, 7 flat 9. We have double C in the left hand, a G, B flat, D flat, E in the right hand, and then to an F. Let's take a look at the chord progression that I want to use to illustrate some gospel chords in the key of E flat. And essentially what I'm going to show you is how you can add chords to progression and give it more flavor, and what kinds of chords you can add that would keep you from playing your standard triad chords, your standard root position, major, minor, and diminished and dominant chords. So let's take a look at the first section. It's going to start off with the E flat to a B flat over D to a C minor, and then to a G minor, to a E flat with a G in the bass, and then to a straight E flat, and then D flat, which is the flat 7 of the E flat scale, and then F minor 7 over B flat, or a 2 chord with the 5 in the bass, and then we resolve to the B flat, and then go back to that phrase. So we played a 1, and I'm calling out the numbers so you'll see how we target certain tones to add enhancements to a progression. So we're going to 1, to a 5 over 7, to a 6, to a 3, to a 4, to a 1 with a 3 in the bass, which would be G, and then a straight 1, and then a flat 7, then a 2 over 5. That's a F minor 7 with a 2, B flat with a 5 rather, B flat in the bass. B flat, F minor 7. And then you resolve to the B, and then you go back to the 1. So the first chord we want to target is actually the opening chord, which is the 1. So you can use a 2-5-1 to open this progression rather than starting on the 1. So you can start with the 2, you're going to look at that and say, wait a minute, that wasn't a 2 bass, that wasn't a 5 bass, and you're right, because what we have done was use a 7 or 6-7-1, which actually has the same sound, or similar enough sound I should say, as a 2-5-1. So you could substitute this. Instead of using a 2-5-1, you could go 6, 5, and then 1. Or if you wanted to, in the E flat, you could do the 2-5-1, which would be your F minor 7, F, E flat in the left, A flat, C, E flat, G in the right, and then just move the E flat to a D, and then change your bass to a B flat. So B flat, you can do double B flat. So you have a B flat 9 or a B flat 13 for your 5 chord, and then you go to your 1. So let's open that progression to the 1. And now let's open it using the 251. Okay, now in this progression, using the information that was provided in the beginning about the borrowing of chords from the harmonic minor and from the Ionian major for the 4, we're going to start with the 6th chord, and we're going to borrow a 251 from the harmonic minor for the 6. So the 6 is a C minor. And the 251 we want to borrow is a so let's put that in context, and we'll lead into the 1, and then we'll lead into the progression that'll take us to the 6. Wait a minute, I didn't do it. Yeah, we want to use the 251 of the 6, which is the C minor. So let's do that again. So there we had a lead in to the 1, A flat over C, B flat over D, E flat major, to the B flat over D, and then to the 7, 3, 6, or rather the 2, 5, 1, 2, 5, 1, going to the 6. And then we go to the 3, then to the 4. Okay, so now let's target the 4 and see what kind of progressions we can add to the 4. Well, let me do the lead in so we can stay consistent. Only this time I'll use a 2-5-1 instead of the 6-7-1. 2, 5, 1. So we just did the 2-5-1 of the 4. And that's using the chords borrowed from the Ionian major based on A flat. Let's move on. We have the E with the G in the bass. And then we're back to D flat. Okay, let me play that through and show you a couple of chords you can do that are a little bit different. So when you go to the 1, you can play this major 7 with the 13th. That's not used a lot, but on a 1 chord, it's a good substitution for a 1 if you want to add a more contemporary sound. Instead of just playing a straight E flat major 7, you can play this chord. And what that is the E flat, B flat, E flat, and you're playing a G, C, D, and G. And a way to think of it is, when you're normally playing the E flat major 7th, you're playing the E flat and whatever other notes you want to add with that bass in the left hand, and then you're playing a triad based on the 3rd note of the E flat scale. You're playing a minor triad, and in this case you're playing a G minor triad, and you add E flat to it, and you have E flat major 7. And so what you're doing to change that is you're playing a G suspended 4 over E flat, and then you're just doubling the G in the right hand. So you can open with that. And you can play a passing chord that will take you to the the C minor, which is the 6. And then we go back to the G. And then we do that 2-5-1 to A flat. Let's take a closer look at some of the movements that I used in this progression. When we go to the G minor 7, what we do is we can play this so you're grace noting off of the E flat to the F, and then playing the D and back to the F. Excuse me, back to the E flat. So it's grace note, F, D, and then back to the grace note. So and then for the C, it's just F. You're going to do this is kind of a bigger spread between it. Usually you grace notes like this, but this time we're gonna go grace from the C to the F. So C to the E flat. So while we're holding, so we so in context we would go so those are little movements where you have inner voice movements in the chord that just gives you a little bit more melody in the song rather than just holding the chord. Another option that you have is to play the circle of fifths chord progression. Introduce it into a certain point in the song and then play it through to lead you to another point in the song. Let me demonstrate that. So what was that? You played the one chord, and then you played a 2-5-1. Excuse me. To the 6. Then you're playing the circle progression. So if I play it the way you normally hear it, when it's just without any melody played to it, it's just a so it's that old gospel progression, only you're adding it at an appropriate point in a song, and you're not using it in its entirety. You're using a section of it to lead you from one target chord to another target chord. And in this case, we use the C minor 7 target chord as the beginning of that progression to take us down to the A flat major, which is the 4. So we're using that to take us to the 4. Rather than just using the 2-5-1, we're in the 6 to the 2 to the 5 to the 1 to the 4. Taking it, using that C minor to lead us to the 6. So that's another way you can add additional harmony to a progression. You have to train your ear to start hearing where you can do these kinds of changes. And one way you can start doing that is look for the 4 in the chord, look for the 6 in the chord, and look for the 2 in the chord progression. So like in this case, the 4 was A flat major, the 6 was C minor 7, the 2 was F minor 7, and we use that in combination with the 2-5-1 of the E flat major chord, or E flat major scale, and we blended those all together to give the additional harmony that you just heard over the chord progression that's used in songs like Give Thanks with a Grateful Heart. Thank you for watching my tutorials. Simple chords are the building blocks for making advanced chords. And I hope you find that these tutorials are helpful to you on your musical journey. Please like, subscribe, and share these tutorials with others who have a desire to learn how to play music at the piano. I look forward to sharing other tutorials with you in future videos.